for excuses is over. We must get the job done in 2024. I'm asking for your support in the January caucuses because I can pledge to you this: I will get the job done. I will not let you down. God bless you all. Let's win this thing. God bless the great state of Iowa.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nick Smith. We're following breaking news in the race for the GOP 2024 nomination this hour. There's been a major shakeup with Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign. His team announced they have replaced campaign manager Janera Peck exactly 2 weeks after a third of the campaign staff was laid off. Chief of Staff from the governor's office, James Uthmeier, will now take her place. Peck will shift to the role of chief strategist for the campaign. It comes as the Republican presidential hopeful tries to gain traction in state and national polling. Joining me now to break it all down is News Nation Washington Bureau Chief Mike Vaquera. Mike, it's been about 75 days since Mr. DeSantis launched his campaign. Is it surprising that he's getting rid of his campaign manager already, or is this part of the normal presidential process?
Well, it's not surprising when you consider, Nick, that May 24th, when Ron DeSantis announced his campaign, he was at about 21% in most national polling, and he has been steadily losing altitude since then, despite the resets, despite the retooling, despite the downsizing, despite the change in approach to go to more retail-style politics in Iowa. That continues to be the trend, and now some donors have been warning the DeSantis campaign that they have to do something or risk losing the donations and the flow of money from many of the more wealthy people on the Republican side who backed DeSantis and saw him as an alternative to Donald Trump. But right now, on the national average, he's at about 16%, 15.5% in polling. Again, losing altitude rapidly over the last 2.5 months by about 5 percentage points. And don't look now. I mean, in the first primary state, the second state in which Republican voters will go to the polls in New Hampshire, even Chris Christie now is coming up in some polls, tied with him in that state. We're coming up, Nick, on a series of what could be make-or-break events in the Republican campaign, culminating August 23rd with that debate in Iowa among the presidential candidates, sponsored by the RNC. But the Iowa State Fair kicks off this week. That's a cattle call if there ever was one, a treasured ritual in Iowa. And on the political circuit, there's another event coming weekend in Atlanta, the following weekend in Atlanta, where many of the conservative activists within the party will be there and many of the candidates will be as well. So DeSantis now retooling his campaign once again, bringing in a new heavy hitter. This is the former chief of staff he had in the governor's office in Florida now, coming in to run the campaign.
You talked about his former chief of staff coming in to run this campaign. This is also part of that retooling. We had said before, they had mentioned how they were just going to let Mr. DeSantis be Mr. DeSantis. They were going to take the gloves off and just let Ron run wild. Does this tell you, Mike, that it's just not working, or this is part of that 2.0?
Well, I mean, it's a continuing series of staff shakeups, none of which have worked so far. I mean, these are short horizons. These are short timelines. They are running out of road. Yes, it's only in mid-August now, approaching mid-August in the year before the election. But as I said, Iowa is going to be decided well before voters head to the polls in January. You just heard the candidate say on Sunday the time for excuses is over. He might as well have been talking about his own campaign. So now, once again, another staff shakeup, bringing in someone in response not only to the polls, but to the message from donors who said they wanted to see a change in course.
Hey, Mike, the first Republican debate is set for August 23rd, which is literally just about 2 weeks from now. Do you think it's smart for the campaign to focus on that and use the debate as a way to reintroduce Mr. DeSantis, or is the public already aware of who he is and there's no time?
Oh, I don't think that the public is aware of who he is. Well, let me put it to you this way. I think the debate will be the best chance, not to say the last best chance, but an excellent chance, not just for DeSantis, but for all of these other candidates to introduce themselves, or in the case of Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis, reintroduce themselves to the voting public, not only in Iowa, but nationwide. So, yeah, it's a huge event. It's a crucial event. And look, this thing is not over yet. Ron DeSantis, as we said, has been losing altitude in the polls. things tend to happen in these campaigns. There are turnarounds. There are people that come out of nowhere. I mean, Tim Scott is having a moment. Vivek Ramaswamy is having a moment as well, surging in the polls. And again, even Chris Christie doing well in New Hampshire. So it's still anybody's race for the runner-up position now to emerge as the main challenger to Donald Trump, who still remains some 30 to even 40 points ahead of any other candidate in the polls.
Mike, earlier I heard Governor Chris Christie say that the reason DeSantis is still ahead in percentage points is because people have not had a chance to meet him. And once they do, he'll continue to deflate. And that's, a classic Chris Christie there, taking shots at it. But definitely. Mike Vaccaro, thank you so much.
Okay, Nick.
Now to an update on the 2020 election interference case against former President Donald Trump. Mr. Trump's legal team is fighting a protective order that would silence him from discussing the trial publicly. His lawyers are now asking for less restrictive rules in a recent court filing, meaning only sensitive matters would be kept away from the limelight. However, House Democrats are asking for a televised trial, which would make shielding sensitive material very difficult. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey has more on the story.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, the legal team for former President Donald Trump continues to accuse the Department of Justice of going really overboard with this protective order request. But on the flip side of this, the special counsel accuses the Trump legal team of wanting to try this case in the media. Overnight, we saw former President Donald Trump post this to Truth Social, quote, "President Biden now wants thug prosecutor deranged Jack Smith to file for a court order taking away my First Amendment rights," speech. The 29-page response from Mr. Trump's legal team echoed some of that, saying in part, in a trial about First Amendment rights, the government seeks to restrict First Amendment rights. Worse, it does so against its administration's primary political opponent. The attorney also takes aim at this tweet from President Joe Biden, posted just hours before Mr. Trump's arraignment last Thursday, using it to make the argument that Mr. Trump's political opponents are using his legal challenges to campaign. Mr. Trump's legal team saying the protective order should instead be narrow and only apply to sensitive materials in the investigation. The request from the special counsel for some background called for a limit on what the former president can share in public and on social media about the case, like grand jury transcripts and recordings of interviews with witnesses. The special counsel responding to these claims from the Trump legal team, writing, quote, "The defendant seeks to use the discovery material to litigate this case in the media. Such conduct has the potential to unnecessarily inflame public opinion, short of relevant facts, intimidate witnesses, pollute the jury pool, and in general degrade the integrity of proceedings in this court." Now, it will be up to the judge to determine what sort of protective order should be in place with the election probe investigation. We know a hearing will be held before the end of this week, but former President Trump will not be required to attend. Nick.
Tom reporting live from the nation's capital. Tom, thank you. We want to take you back to live that police search that we started with at the top of the hour. Lake in South Florida, dozens of cars were found by divers working on missing persons cases over the weekend. And now they're being pulled out of Lake Doral, which is not far from the Miami International Airport. This is video of the very first car that was pulled out this morning, and they believe it was stolen and dumped there. But there's a lot of work still to be done. Let's go live now to our own Xavier Walston, who has the very latest. Xavier, we heard the chief speak earlier about how there could be as many as 20 cars in that lake.
Nick, that's right. And crews actually just pulled out the second vehicle from this lake. Take a look behind me. We believe it is an older model Cadillac. And as you can tell, it has been there for quite some time. Now, initial reports said 30 cars, the chief saying 20 just a few moments ago. But this is a process. It's going to take several hours. The dive team is going to go out, bring cars at the bottom of the lake to the surface. And this is exactly what they're going to do for each of these vehicles. So that first vehicle, believed to be a 2002 Altima, investigators already running the VIN saying it came back as stolen. Multiple agencies out here collaborating on this recovery mission. Homicide Bureau also on site in case human remains are found as well. Important to note, though, no evidence of human remains so far.
One vehicle, the first vehicle they pulled out is a 2002 Altima. And we just got word from the Doral Police Department that it is confirmed stolen vehicle. And these are the most likely the type of vehicles that we're going to find here dumped in this lake. vehicles that perhaps have been abandoned and they wanted to get rid of them, and they got rid of them here, or those that took them for a joyride, they were stolen, and then they were dumped inside the lake.
But in the event that there's another crime connected to these cars out here, homicide on scene as well. But this is the process. Police believe it's going to take quite some time to get all these cars removed. They believe they are older models. Obviously, Nick, it is extremely hot out here. Divers out of the water now. They're taking a short break before they get back in there and remove some more of these vehicles.
And Xavier, quickly, he talked about they would be able to look at the VIN numbers no matter how old the vehicles are, correct?
That's exactly right. Actually, before we started with this live shot, we saw some of the investigators looking at this old Cadillac here. I'll show it to you. But they were getting up close to the area where the VIN would likely be and taking pictures of the VIN number. That's what we saw with the first car. And just like that, within 30 minutes to an hour, they were able to tell that other vehicle, that first one that they pulled out of the water, was actually stolen.
Xavier Walton, live for us in Miami. Xavier, thank you. We're also staying on top of the fallout after a wild brawl on the baseball diamond. Take a look at this.
They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson.
That right hook from Ramirez laid Anderson right on his backside. Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians appeared upset by a hard tag from the Chicago White Sox Tim Anderson when he slid into second base. This all happened on Saturday night. Now, the umpire tried to break it up, but the players started throwing punches with Ramirez knocking Anderson out. Anderson has been suspended for 6 games. Ramirez has been suspended for 3 games. Both players are appealing those suspensions. The other big story in sports right now is a major realignment in college sports. The historic Pac-12 will be down to just 4 schools after this upcoming season. The universities of Washington, Oregon were accepted into the Big Ten last week. They will join UCLA and the University of Southern California, who both already announced they were joining the Big Ten back in 2024. Now, meanwhile, Colorado had already announced plans to leave the Pac-12 and return to the Big 12. They will now be followed to that conference by Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. Confusingly, when this is finished, the Big Ten will have 18 teams, and the Big 12 will have 16. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. That will leave at least 4 of the teams for the time being. Now, the University of California, Oregon State, and Stanford, and Washington State will be in the Pac-12. Joining me now with more on all of this is Mike McDaniel. He is a writer for Sports Illustrated. Mike, thanks so much for being here, because anybody trying to do the math is probably a little bit confused right now. Why did schools want to leave one conference for the other, and who's left behind?
Money, all about money. Big Ten and the SEC, gigantic television contracts. SEC got a brand new deal with ESPN. They will no longer be with CBS following this upcoming season. And then in addition to that, the Big Ten signed huge deals with Fox and CBS and NBC to broadcast their games. Look, it's all about money. These schools are trying to get a bigger piece of the pie, more money for the teams, more money to recruit. That's what it's all about, especially if you're a team trying to compete for a national championship. You got to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. That's why a lot of these teams are heading to those conferences now, the Big Ten, the SEC primarily. Big 12 is trying to carve out their role as kind of this third conference, which could leave the ACC in the dust a bit. But we'll kind of see how it all shakes out. It seems to be changing by the hour.
Mike, how much consideration was given actually to like the health of the student? Because we keep talking about the conferences and we talk about the moving around, but is there any focus on these student athletes making multiple trips across the country during a season?
No. I mean, I wish I could tell you otherwise, but it really doesn't seem that way. I mean, these conferences seem to be kind of working under the guise of like, all right, let's just try to get our schools as much money as possible and let's figure out the rest later. For football programs, really not that big a deal, right? They fly across the country and play 1 game a week on the road. You know, you can make that work. But for some of these non-revenue sports like, you know, volleyball or baseball or soccer that play during the week, I don't really understand how this is going to make sense or even work logistically. And when you ask it as a member of the media, you know, these conferences don't really have an answer for you. So I don't think they've really considered it, especially for the non-revenue sports, because these have been, you know, these moves have been made just simply for football. And then, you know, all the other sports are expected to follow suit, because this isn't just a football-only conference move. Like, all the other teams under the school's umbrella are going to play in these new respective conferences. And it just doesn't seem like these conference presidents and these athletic directors really have a good answer for what it means for the sports outside of football.
Well, clearly, Mike, if I'm following your theory, like you started at the top of this, it's clear football coaches are kings, right? So they make the decision and everybody else just follows along like a pawn. Let me go back to baseball, though, because I do want to talk about Ramirez throwing that right hook and knocking Anderson right down. Anderson comes up groggy. You got to know a whole lot of egos involved there. It's like, oh, I got to get this guy now. And he could not get back to Ramirez. Ramirez was suspended for 3 games, and Anderson was suspended for 6. He was the one that was knocked out and actually started the whole thing. Are those suspensions fair?
I think so. I mean, this is one of those things that have been brewing for a couple of days. Obviously, 2 teams in the AL Central battling it out. It's kind of been a messy division all year. So these are 2 teams that are still fighting for their playoff lives despite, not being very good for various points of the season. It's a wide open division. So these 2 teams, harnessed a lot of bad blood. It had been building for a few days. Obviously, Anderson instigated a bit, and Ramirez threw that right hook. It was actually pretty funny. The Cleveland Guardians manager, Tito Francona, was asked about after the game and said, "Oh, what did you think of the left hook?" And Tito said, "Actually, it was a right hook." And he said, "It's not funny, but, he kind of just alluded to the fact that Anderson might have had it coming a little bit because he just said, boys will be boys, right? Because they were kind of, jawing and going back and forth there for over the course of a couple of days. So the fact that it came to a head like this was a little bit surprising, but then again, the fact that, there was baseball brawl to this magnitude, right, is surprising in that, you don't really see a lot of bench clearing brawls turn into something like this where actual punches are thrown.
Right. And definitely not when they're going to get in your bag after you do this with those suspensions and those fines. Let me ask you one quick question, Mike, before we run out of time. Later that evening in that press conference, Ramirez talked about how, hey, part of this happens because Anderson doesn't respect the game. What is the backstory there with that?
Yeah, so Anderson has been known to talk a lot of trash, right, to opposing players. It's been something that's been brewing for a while, not just with the Guardians. I mentioned the interdivision rivalry there, but Anderson is a guy who, doesn't always hustle, doesn't always respect the game in terms of how he talks to his opponents. So I think that's what Ramirez was alluding to a little bit there, and it kind of came to a head. And Ramirez has since apologized for his actions, even though, Anderson kind of brought it on a bit with Ramirez. Ramirez was defending himself, but Ramirez has since apologized, and I think that tells you everything you need to know about that situation.
Mike McDaniel, once again, brother, I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. In just a few minutes, a top Democratic senator is demanding action from the White House 6 months after that toxic train derailment upending the community of East Palestine. And inflation is already having a major impact on back-to-school shopping. We'll show you how teachers are stepping up to relieve parents' pockets. Also later on, News Nation Live, we are looking at which celebrities have high-maintenance habits, like, bringing their own toilet seat when they travel. Yeah, that's a thing. You're watching News Nation Live with Marnie Hughes. More News Nation after the break.
When you drive a Ram, summer is more than a season. It's an opportunity to load up on more toys, to stop looking for fun and be the one who brings it, and to make every day even more inviting than the last. Make this the summer you drive America's best light-duty pickup.
During the Ram Make This the Summer event, get $4,000 retail consumer cash allowance on most 2023 Ram 1500 trucks.
Did you know that the average age of a vehicle in the U.S. is over 12 years old? That means there's a lot of out-of-warranty cars out there, which means a lot of expensive vehicle repairs. Getting stuck with those costs is the last thing anyone wants right now. But you don't have to if you call CarShield. Plans through CarShield provide low-cost monthly car protection that can save you thousands of dollars in repairs on your out-of-warranty vehicle. Those plans can pay for expensive repairs on up to 6,000 parts of your car when they break down, including your engine, your transmission, AC, entertainment unit, and even your electrical system.
When I called a customer and told them that everything that needed to be done from the car was going to be covered, they were ecstatic. I feel great about recommending CarShield to everybody I see.
When you call CarShield, you'll get a price lock guarantee. That means your low monthly price never goes up. as long as you cover your car.
Being an essential worker and a mom of 3, finances can be very tight at times. If it wasn't for CarShield, I wouldn't have my car.
Your plan can even go the extra mile by including 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance with things like flat or damaged tires, lockouts, dead batteries, and courtesy towing, all at no additional cost to you. If you've got an out-of-warranty vehicle, you need to call CarShield and get their price lock guarantee for a low monthly rate for as long as you cover your car. But darlings, this is important. You have to call before your car breaks down, or it's too late.
Don't get stuck paying for sky-high car repairs. Call CarShield before your next breakdown. Call 800-548-6995. 800-548-6995. 800-548-6995.
It's easy to think that all money managers are pretty much the same. But at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different how? You sell high commission investment products, right?
Nope. Fisher avoids them.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Never at Fisher.
Okay, then you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we structure our fees so we do better when our clients do better. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Welcome back to News Nation Live. 13 children are rescued in Australia and 19 men are charged in connection to an online child abuse network.
Operation Bacchus kicked off in 2022 as a result of information that was provided by the FBI to the ACE in relation to Australian members of a peer-to-peer network allegedly sharing child abuse material.
The 19 men who have been charged face a total of 138 charges. 2 of those men have been sentenced to jail, while the others are awaiting court proceedings. An Arizona woman has been charged with attempted murder for allegedly trying to kill her husband by poisoning his coffee. Our Stephanie Hain has more on this story.
Melody Johnson remains behind bars after her husband accused her of trying to poison him for months. The story begins in Germany, where the complaint says the couple were stationed back in March, and Robbie Johnson is a member of the Air Force. According to the complaint, he noticed his coffee tasted strange. So he bought chemical testing strips, the kind you would use to test the chemical balance of a swimming pool, which he says showed high levels of chlorine in his morning cup of joe. That's when he set up a camera and told investigators he recorded his wife pouring something in the coffee pot. He told investigators he pretended to drink it until at least last month, when the family moved to the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson. According to the records, Robbie set up the cameras again, and he took the footage to Tucson police, who note in the documents that the video shows Melody pouring something in the coffee, but it's not clear what. Robbie then went to buy more cameras, which looked like fire alarms. He set them up in the laundry room where the bleach was and put one by the coffee pot and another one to show her walking in between the two. The documents state he recorded multiple videos over several days showing Melody take bleach, pour it into a container, and then walk over and pour it into the coffee maker. End quote. He stated he knew she would continue to try to poison him once arriving back in the U.S., which is why he waited until they arrived here, and he was able to collect multiple videos showing her doing this to make a report.
I do question the not reporting it for months. Why pretend? To drink your coffee for months on end when you have these test strips that you can use to prove. It was surprising to me.
It's the latest case of alleged poisonings in the past few months. In April, a doctor in California was charged after video allegedly shows her pouring drain cleaner in her husband's tea. And in Utah back in May, a mother who wrote a children's book about grief is accused of killing her husband after allegedly lacing his cocktail with fentanyl.
Women tend to prefer poisons. That's a psychological thing that's been proven.
That was News Nation correspondent Stephanie Haynes reporting. A New Hampshire father charged in the murder of his missing daughter says he's innocent of the crime. Adam Montgomery used a court hearing on unrelated gun charges to insist he did not kill the girl, saying, quote, "I did not kill my daughter Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims. Harmony Montgomery disappeared in 2019, but she was not reported missing until 2021. Prosecutors allege the father killed the girl by repeatedly striking her in the head with his fist. The murder trial is scheduled to start in November. Ohio Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown is joining urgent calls for the White House to approve a disaster declaration in East Palestine 6 months after a toxic train derailed there. In a letter to President Biden and the head of FEMA, Senator Brown said, quote, residents of East Palestine shouldn't have to wait any longer for additional assistance. He added they, quote, deserve to know what their federal government is doing to fight for them and hold Norfolk Southern accountable. Last month, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine asked President Joe Biden to issue a major disaster declaration. He's yet to receive an update. Meantime, some residents have been traveling to Washington, D.C., demanding help. The school year is almost back in session, and parents are scrambling to stock up on classroom supplies. However, teachers are saying that during the school year, most of the financial burden falls on them. News Nation's Emily Finn has been closely monitoring this story.
It's just there's so many teachers that are on, whether it be Twitter or Instagram, posting their wish list, and a lot of like the basic supplies, whether it be like sanitizer, pencils, tissues, snacks. These are things that aren't really, and the budget we get from our district can't really like buy those things.
Back to school shopping this year is expected to break sales records with $41.5 billion in expected spending, a 12% increase from last year. But for many educators, like fourth grade teacher Diego Napoles, they will be dipping into their own pockets to purchase supplies for their classrooms. According to the National Education Society, more than 90% of teachers will be using their own money to cover items for their students. Some teachers, like Napoles, have turned to nonprofit organizations like Donors Choose to help with the cost of basic supplies.
Definitely pencils is number one. Pencils for me. Books is a big one too. I've had to do a couple of Donors Choose and Amazon wish lists and ask my own social media account, like friends and family on Facebook, things like that, to say hey, we're starting the school year. Would love to, get some new books for my students this year.
During last year's school year, My E-Learning World found teachers spent on average more than $820 for classroom supplies. While the IRS raised the amount teachers are able to deduct from their taxes last year to $300, that only covers a fraction of total spending. To try to help with the costs for both teachers and parents of students, at least 18 states across the U.S. are offering tax holidays or temporary waivers on items like school supplies or clothes. But the tax breaks often only cover a small portion of what consumers typically spend on back-to-school shopping, and often only apply to a small sample of products. And teachers say the supplies they purchase are essential.
Kids are kids, and getting these textbooks and the paper, the bare minimum, we need the supplemental stuff that really helps them thrive.
All right, thanks to Emily Finn for that report. This video is incredible. Take a look. The moment a house in Alaska literally falls into a river. Aerial drone footage caught the moments it happened in Juneau over the weekend. Now, record floods struck Alaska's capital city after a major release of water from a glacier, prompting city officials to issue evacuation orders and ask everyone to stay away from the river. No injuries have been reported so far. Swimming and surfing at a New York beach is currently prohibited after a woman was attacked by a shark on Monday evening. Now, according to the NYPD, the 50-year-old woman was bit in the leg and taken to a hospital. She is currently in critical condition. A spokesperson for the New York City Parks Department says, after the attack, which reads in part, we hope for a full recovery for this swimmer. Though this was a frightening event, we want to remind New Yorkers that shark bites in Rockaway are extremely rare. We remain vigilant in monitoring the beach and always clear the water when a shark is spotted. Prior to today, we have no reports of shark bites on Rockaway Beach in recent memory. Other beachgoers are also wishing the injured woman a speedy recovery.
I just really hope that she recovers well, and I'm rooting for her and all the best. It's just unfortunate that she had to go through that type of trauma, but I hope she recovers well.
Well, that shark attack comes just a few weeks after the state of New York launched new shark monitoring drones. The new shark spotting technology is designed to search the water for any signs of sharks in the area. Meanwhile, also in New York, some migrants have tried to find shelter at the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown, but were forced to sleep outside when it hit capacity. Well, a pizza shop owner whose business is in the hotel was being blocked by the migrants. But instead of getting upset, he decided to help. Our Dre Clark joins us live now from New York with the story. Dre, this is someone who decided to lend others a hand.
Exactly right, Nick. He's paying it forward like it did happen for him 30 years ago. Meanwhile, this time last week, the sidewalk here outside of Uncle Paul's Pizza was congested because in many ways, this sidewalk behind me had become a cement sofa for migrants and asylum seekers who were waiting patiently, in fact, desperately to find a place in city shelter. But the owner here at Uncle Paul's Pizza, instead of getting upset about the congestion outside his door, he decided to serve pizza to the migrants. And he says that whenever he looked at them, he saw himself.
30 years ago, Dino Redzik was a refugee from the country formerly known as Yugoslavia. He entered the U.S. illegally with no money, but determined to achieve the American dream. Years later, he's now a legal citizen and a successful business owner. So when asylum seekers took shelter outside his pizzeria, there was no way he would turn his back on them.
We were entitled to anything. We just got an opportunity. And I believe that these people are here for the very same thing.
Dino's restaurant is attached to the Roosevelt Hotel, a 19-story building now being used as an intake center and shelter for migrant families. But last week, New York City, which by law is required to provide safe shelter for anyone who requests it, says it ran out of room, and what unfolded was days of migrants standing, sitting, or sleeping on the sidewalk.
You come in the morning, they're all sleeping here like sardines, and you couldn't get to your store. Clients couldn't get in.
Dino decided to serve the migrants pizza, and it was a rocky start.
I made about 10 pizza pies and went over and almost caused a riot. Everybody jumped on.
Soon, customers caught on to Dino's goodwill and started dropping off cash and checks, thanking him for helping. But Dino says what he really wants to do is hire the migrants. He has 18 open positions that New Yorkers don't seem to want. But migrants need work permits. New York City's mayor has asked the president to approve expedited work visas.
We need to allow people to work. And there's nothing more anti-American than you can't work.
They're ready to work, they're willing to work, and they're not able to work.
Dino says the migrants don't want a handout. They want a hand up, just like he did 30 years ago.
They're not here to live off welfare or any public assistance. All they want is free air and rights to work.
Yeah, this isn't the first time that Dino has done this kind of thing. Back during the pandemic, he and his business partner decided to keep the pizzeria open here, despite pretty much everything being closed in Midtown Manhattan. They wanted to keep the shop open to provide free food to first responders because they knew they were pretty much the only people out here on the road trying to save lives, so they wanted to make sure those crews stayed well fed. Nick?
Dre, you know I got to ask the obvious question. How's the pizza?
It's actually pretty good. You know, we were here yesterday talking to Dino for the story, and he would not allow us to leave without taking home some pizza. So I got a couple of slices of pepperoni, ate it when I got home, and it was really good. And don't take my word for it. Even right now, behind me is lunchtime, and the place is jam-packed.
I love it. That's all it takes right there. The proof is in the taste of the pudding. Thank you so much, Dre. While some struggle with inflation, others are buying their own traveling toilet seats. And next, which celebs have the most high-maintenance habits? Do we want to know this? Ooh, we'll talk about it after the break.
Former Vice President Mike Pence on Balance tonight.
When we announced last call, some people got nervous. They thought we were going to slow down. Think again.
Hi, I'm Daniel, the founder of Pretty Litter. By working with scientists and veterinarians, I was able to develop a long-lasting litter with advanced odor control, low dust, and most importantly, color-changing technology. So give it a try. Visit prettylitter.com today.
Lactate is 100% real milk, just without the lactose. Delicious, too. Just ask my old friend Kevin.
Nothing like enjoying a cold one while watching the game. Who's winning?
No idea.
Real milk
real delicious. And don't forget to try some delicious, creamy Lactaid ice cream. What's that, Mabel?
Wow, smart cow.
I was drowning in debt.
I didn't even know how I was going to buy food for my kids.
I had over $36,000 in debt.
If I would have just made the minimum payments, it would have taken me 59 years to pay off. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get out of debt myself.
I picked up the phone and called National Debt Relief. They were my savior.
Whether it's credit card, medical, or personal loan debt, National Debt Relief negotiates with your creditors to reduce the amount you owe.
National Debt Relief was able to reduce my debt by over $21,000.
From the minute I made the call to National Debt Relief, I felt immediate relief. They had a plan for me.
They treated me like a real person, not a number.
It really was a team working with me.
National Debt Relief negotiated with all of my creditors and reduced the amount that I owe. And I'm now debt-free.
If you owe more than $10,000, call or visit nationaldebtrelief.com to find out how you can become debt-free.
Hi, I'm Ben. I've lost 60 pounds on Golo. I currently suffer from nerve damage, which kept me bedridden for 6 months. I was very overweight and depressed. I was skeptical when I first ordered Golo, but the condition I was in, I was willing to take the chance, and the chance turned out to be my lotto ticket. Golo gave me back my life, and that's why I'm here.
Change your life at Golo.com. That's GOLO.com.
Some men and women freak out when they first notice signs of hair loss. Some say, no big deal. I don't look much different. Either way, hair loss does sneak up on you. And if you do nothing, chances are you'll soon see your hair getting thinner and thinner and thinner. All while a range of great options are available to you right now.
Before you lose any more hair, grab your phone and scan this QR code. Because Bosley, America's #1 hair restoration experts, can stop your hair loss and give you your real hair back permanently. We're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who scans the code now.
But remember, the sooner you get started, the sooner your results of great-looking hair.
For a free information kit and gift card for $250 off, scan the code. Don't wait. Scan the code now. Get the permanent solution to hair loss. Protected by the Bosley Guarantee.
To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Yeah, if you've been to a wedding anytime in the last 20 years, you know that song. Sad news this morning. Cha-Cha Slide creator DJ Casper has died following his 7-year battle with cancer. The Chicago native was known for that 2000 hit song, Cha-Cha Slide, creating the signature dance. In a statement released by ABC7 posthumously, he said, quote, "Anybody that's going through cancer, know that you have cancer, and cancer does not have you." If you ever wanted to own a piece of Elvis Presley memorabilia, now is your chance. The King's Smith & Wesson Model 53 revolver is hitting the Rhode Island auction block home August 26th, just 10 days after the anniversary of his death. The gun was gifted to Presley back in the day, and it's likely this was one of the last guns he received before he passed. He had about 37 guns in total. It is expected to sell anywhere between $60,000 to $90,000. Now that price, a big price for a gun, has me all shook up. You like that? I heard somebody back there laugh. I worked on that. Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Ed Sheeran are all on tour tonight. And some are making headlines for their box office bravado, others for their backstage antics and need for comforts while on the road. Most requests are pretty simple, yellow M&Ms only, things like that, something to drink, a place to change, and some food for themselves and their entourage. But as News Nation's Kelsey Kernstein reports, other requests are far from average.
Beyonce is in the midst of her Renaissance World Tour. Fans are over the top excited as she moves from city to city, but she's making headlines for what she is doing behind the scenes as her tour moves from stadium to stadium. Apparently moving with her are toilet seats. You heard that right. Part of her rider. She'll bring her own. Thank you very much. Mary J. Blige and Madonna do the same.
Why do all these celebrities
travel with her own toilet seat covers, which seems weird to us, but you know, there are a lot of crazy people out there. Madonna's had her toilet seat cover taken before, so she also travels with her own toilet seat. Beyonce travels with her own toilet seat, and for good reason. She and Jay-Z rented a house in the Holmby Hills for about a year. They vacate, and the next thing you know, the bidet that was in their bathroom was on eBay for sale.
Beyonce also takes along her own golf cart, shrouded in black sheets for privacy when moving around the venue. For decades, stars have made bizarre requests on their riders. Rihanna asked for, among other things, a giant fur rug with animal print on her dressing room floor so she can walk barefoot. Paul McCartney reportedly the opposite, requiring all items backstage to be animal-free. Katy Perry loves to get flowers, but better not send carnations. They're banned from her dressing room. Justin Bieber wants 10 luxury sedans, a massage table, and a private jet on standby for travel needs. His ex, Selena Gomez, had her own quirks post-Bieber breakup.
When she broke up with Justin Bieber in 2014, she was so heartsick, she didn't want anyone named Justin on the set at all. She just didn't want to hear his name. So people named Justin had to change their names while backstage with Selena.
Sorry, Selena, but here's another Justin. Justin Timberlake requires doorknobs to be cleaned in hotels and dressing rooms every 2 hours. He wants a whole hotel floor to himself, and he has to be alone in the elevator. J-Lo is into aesthetics. She likes everything from her dressing room curtains to the candles to be white. And royal lover Britney Spears, while in London, wanted a picture of Princess Diana hung up in her dressing room, while Joe Jonas wanted 12 puppies greeting him in each city.
Sometimes they want to see what they can get away with. It's like a little kid. You keep pushing, you keep pushing.
Kelsey Kernstein, News Nation.
And for the record, I too have demands. Pancakes. In just a few minutes, we're talking about how one trucking company's bankruptcy could impact the American supply chain. That and more when News Nation Live continues.
How do I do it all? With a little help. And to support my family's immune health, I choose Airborne. It has an unbeatable amount of vitamin C, plus a unique blend of immune-focused ingredients to turn up our immune support. Airborne, ace this school year with A+ immune support.
Cancer is a long journey. It's overwhelming, but you just have to put your mind to it and fight.
It doesn't feel good because you can't play outside with other children.
As a parent, it is your job to protect your family. But here is something that I cannot do. I cannot fix this. I don't know if my daughter's going to be able to walk. I don't know if she's going to make it till tomorrow.
You can join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so they can focus on helping their child live.
Childhood cancer, there's no escaping it. But St. Jude is doing the work, continually researching towards cures, giving more than just my child a chance at life.
Please call or go online right now and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope for only $19 a month.
Those donations really matter because we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, it makes all the difference in the world.
When you call or go online with your credit or debit card right now, we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt you can wear to show your support to help St. Jude save the lives of these children.
St. Jude is hope. Even today, after losing a child, it's still about the hope of tomorrow. Because childhood cancer has to end.
Please call or go online right now.
Did you know GoodRx can help you get a better price on your family's prescriptions?
I just opened the app, type in the name of our meds, that's it. Savings on my asthma medication. All right, round two, baby, round two. Oh, yeah! Savings on my husband's blood pressure refills. And savings on my daughter's allergy pills.
Prescription savings for the whole family.
Have a good one.
Another good reason to check GoodRx.
feel better again. Oh, I feel better now.
News Nation Monday. Vivek Ramaswamy fighting to become the Republican nominee for president. Facing your questions for the first time live in a national cable exclusive. The News Nation Town Hall. Vivek Ramaswamy. Monday at 9, 8 Central on News Nation.
Well, the downfall of the trucking company Yellow is being called into question. His bankruptcy filing now drawing attention to the $700 million pandemic-era loan it received from the federal government. And over the years, Yellow has racked up hefty bills. As of late March, it had an outstanding debt of about $1.5 billion. Of that, more than $729 million is owed to the federal government. The collapse is also causing a ripple effect in the economy. It was a key part of the supply chain, once moving nearly 50,000 shipments a day. Here now to talk more is Associate Professor of Operations Management at Southern Illinois University, Greg DeYoung. Greg, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Greg, can you talk to us about the potential ripple effects for Americans and the supply chain?
Sure. Well, Yellow is a big part of the process in the LTL, or less than truckload shipment sphere. They're the fifth largest in that market. It's a very fragmented market, so the top five only make up about 25%, but they're still a really big player. And it's a very competitive market, so lots of people are trying to ship, businesses are trying to ship, and it just takes away an option for some of those shippers.
Mr. DeYoung, were they ever financially viable? I have since read different things since this filing.
They've had a lot of struggles. They have not been profitable for a number of years. They did show a little profit this spring, but that's an anomaly. And in fact, even if you look back a decade or 20 years, Yellow has really struggled to be profitable. When they were profitable, they weren't very profitable. So they've been a struggling player in this market for quite some time.
And then a lot of this, if I understand correctly, has more to do with the management structure and how when they made a merger earlier on, about 15, 20 years ago, they never fully consolidated the two companies.
They have been in an acquisition mode for several decades, and it's very hard to integrate those into this less than truckload market because it requires a tremendous amount of coordination among just the company itself, but to try to coordinate among several companies has just been really difficult for Yellow, and they've struggled mightily with this. They were showing a little bit of progress with their One Yellow initiative this last year, but it's really been hard for them to do this integration. At the same time, the trucking industry is changing so quickly with technology and regulations that they've just really kind of never caught up and integrated the assets that they purchased.
And Mr. DeYoung, dare I mention also the union factor in all of this? Because at one point, Yellow tried to change the title and demands of certain jobs without having that conversation with different unions.
They've had a very acrimonious relationship with the union, and it's both sides are blaming each other right now. There's a lot of finger pointing going on. Yellow went so far as to file a lawsuit against the union this spring for breach of contract for what Yellow would call blocking their One Yellow initiative. The union, on the other hand, saw that Yellow was not making its required contributions to the pension plan, felt like the Yellow was trying to take advantage of them. And it's really just spiraled into a lot of very acrimonious and confrontational relationships, and that drives away customers, and that's ultimately the problem that Yellow faced.
And that's exactly where I was going next, because in the end of all of this, you have customers who are like, listen, I just want to get my things moved, and I'm not going to pay more to do it. I will find a less expensive way to do this. Do you anticipate costs going up over this for certain customers?
Well, certainly in this type of a market, actually finding the less expensive approach is not what the companies are looking for. They're looking for that consistency, the reliability, and the ability to know that when I ship this, it's going to get where it's going. So I don't have to worry about carrying extra inventory or shipping things early. All of that costs money, and everybody's trying to be efficient. So definitely, in the short term, there's going to be some cost increases because whenever a large player falls out, there's going to be some capacity that needs to be taken up. Longer term, it's not a tremendous problem because there is some excess capacity in the less than truckload market right now. So there is sufficient capacity. Plus, of course, Yellow is actually going to enter back in with the Chapter 11 bankruptcy and try to function in the oncoming weeks and months. So it's not like that capacity is gone forever. If it turns into a liquidation situation, Yellow's assets are very valuable, and somebody will pick them up. One of their competitors will move into those markets and take over those vehicles, facilities, and routes.
Mr. DeYoung, thank you so much for joining us this morning to break it all down, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. A second Fargo police officer wounded in a shooting is greeted with cheers and applause as he walks out of the hospital on Monday following 24 days of recovery. It comes just days after his colleague officer was released from the hospital last month. A gunman ambushed responding officers to a traffic crash. Now, one officer was killed and he wounded Tyler Hawes. That right there is Hawes walking out of the hospital. Andrew Dottis, a fourth officer, was shot and killed, and the suspect is still in the, the suspect was shot and killed. A bystander was also hurt in the shooting. Now, police say the man appeared to be planning a much larger attack that day. It's good to see that those officers are indeed recovering. Well, coming up, our News Nation 90 will catch you up on everything you may have missed after the break.
I used to wait to run my dishwasher till it was super full. Now, I dish differently. I run it daily. Weekdays. Weekends. Sometimes after a big snack. You might think that's wasteful, but it's not. Because even half loads use 80% less water than hand washing, saving up to $130 a year on utilities. And with Cascade Platinum Plus, you just scrape, load, done. So next time you're waiting to run it, just run it. Dare to dish differently.
The Omaha Steaks Anniversary Sale is here. For over a century, we've guaranteed the highest quality in everything we offer. To celebrate, we're offering you 50% off site-wide. That means you'll save 50% and get our 100% guarantee that you'll love every bite. Never tried Omaha Steaks? Save an extra $30 with promo code FIRSTTIME. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Hi, I'm Ken Mears for Omega XL, the natural joint health supplement sourced from the green lip mussels of the pristine waters of New Zealand. Omega XL can help you with pain caused by inflammation. There's a reason that millions of people have been taking Omega XL. It's because Omega XL delivers results you can feel.
With a unique combination of over 30 fatty acids found only in the oil extract of the green lip mussel, Omega XL has been providing relief to inflammation pain for nearly 20 years. If you have pain in your back, neck, knees, or elbows, try Omega XL and get a second chance at life.
Before Omega XL, I was in a lot of pain. I felt like this is a miracle for me in my life. I love to run and play with my grandkids, and now I can do that again, all because of Omega XL.
You don't have to put up with pain. Think about what you would be doing playing with your grandchildren, meeting with friends, or even just feeling comfortable enough to get through your day.
Since I've started Omega XL, I didn't think it was possible to take one supplement and have that great response. Thank you, Omega XL. I'm very happy to be able to continue doing what I do.
You can get back to living the life you want, and inflammation is manageable, it's controllable, and it's fixable.
Go to OmegaXL.com or call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for our new offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL, get one free. That's 2 bottles for only $39.95. Plus, you'll also receive a bottle of Vitamin XL D3 absolutely free. That's 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $107. But when you call today, you pay only $39.95 on your first order.
Try Omega XL and see the difference it can make in your life.
Call now.
You got me.
Tag. You're right. Imagine a world with no drama. With 4imprint, you don't have to chase down the perfect promotional products. Exclusive apparel, bags, drinkware, and more. 4imprint will help you capture the moment and guarantee to deliver your order on time and on budget. Take the drama out of ordering promotional products at 4imprint.com.
4imprint, for certain.
Cars will break down. And when they do, it's too late. If your car is out of warranty, it leaves you with two choices. Get stuck paying for expensive repairs, or one phone call to CarShield. Their administrators pay for your covered repairs so you don't have to. Your coverage includes roadside assistance, towing, rental, and so much more. Plus, with their nationwide network, you choose the mechanic or dealer. Best of all, there's coverage for every wallet size. Make the smart call before it's too late. Call CarShield today.
Former President Trump's legal team arguing they shouldn't be restricted from speaking about some evidence in the election interference case.
On one hand, you have the legal team for former President Donald Trump saying the Department of Justice has gone overboard with this protective order. But on the other hand, you have the special counsel coming out saying that the Trump legal team just wants to try this case in the media.
Trump is fighting this both in the court of law and in the court of public opinion, so it's equally as important that he gets his message out.
Lawmakers in New York are considering two bills that would make xylazine, or Tranq, a Schedule III drug, and became popular because it can lull people into a state of unconsciousness for hours. That's why they also call it the zombie drug.
Because right now, a bigger part of this is we can't even quantify how many of these overdoses are related to xylazine because the hospitals don't have the ability to properly test. So we need to constantly address our laws, fix our laws, and keep up with the changes that are being made to these drugs.
This crowd of migrants was caught trying to enter the U.S. They had to be pushed back by Border Patrol agents in riot gear. But it comes hours before two House Republicans will hold a field hearing in Arizona to highlight illegal immigration and drug smuggling.
News Nation has been covering the human smuggling assembly lines in that part of Arizona where smugglers use ropes to bring people over the border wall and run into the U.S. That Tucson area known for drug trafficking and a popular spot for illegal crossings for migrants. And illegal crossings are back on the uptick post Title 42.
Well, that does it for me. I'm Nick Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep it right here. Don't go anywhere because News Nation Now starts after the break with my friend, Kelly Beeson. You don't want to miss it.